Hey y'all, welcome to another Elkins travel adventure. Today I want to share with you about our channel and who we are. So I'm Mama Elkins and we have 9 kids total. 3 are biological that me and my husband had, and then we got into fostering, and so we have foster and adopted 6 children from foster care. Now we've been doing foster care for around 7 years and we've had around 80 kids in and out of our house during that time. So I wanted to share a little bit about that our adventure isn't just travel adventure. Our adventures are also having all these kids in our house every day. So I wanted to share quite a bit about foster care and try to answer some questions that people have asked us about it and begin sharing some of our story on our channel as well. So one of the main things I wanted to start with is foster care numbers nationwide are huge. Like in the United States, at any time, there's at least 391,000 children in the foster care system. Just in Alabama, which is where we live, there's around 5,700 kids in foster care. And the small rural county that we live in has anywhere from 100 to 120 at any time in the foster care system. There just really is not enough homes for these children. And you have different types of homes as well and different types of foster parents. So if you're interested in fostering children, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the different types, and you might find something that really appeals to you in your situation where you can begin helping. So one of the types of fostering is kinship guardianship, meaning that you are related to this child in some way and you go through the foster classes to be able to take care of that child and receive a stipend from your state to help you with that child's needs. There's also a regular or traditional foster home like we have, where we've done individual children or sibling groups. We've had infants, toddlers, all the way up to teenagers ready to move out into the world. Then there's also therapeutic, which is for children that may have special needs or some severe behavior issues that they might need some more individual help with. And lastly, I wanted to share there's another way you could be involved, and it's called respite care. And that is just a short-term help with a child, maybe overnight till they can find a placement for that child long-term. Or there may be foster families that an emergency comes up and they need help with the children while that emergency comes up. Or a vacation may come along that they are going on and the biological parents aren't allowing that child to go with them. So there's different reasons why respite care is important as well. So those are the main types of foster placements. Well, how do you become a foster parent? Well, each state has different regulations, but as I've researched, most all of them require you to take the 10-week class, and then your home is inspected. And people get kind of worried about a home inspection, but it's simple things like, is your water too hot? Do you have safety features like fire extinguishers in the appropriate places? Do you have smoke detectors? Do you have a handrail? Do you have gates up to keep babies safe? So it's things that you probably already have in your home because you're keeping yourself or your family safe as well. So we didn't have to do a whole lot of things when we became foster parents to our home because we'd already had those things. But the coursework you take is very good. It's thorough. It has information about how to deal with kids that may have trauma, because they all have trauma. You may have even experienced trauma in your life, so you can take your experiences to help those children as well. It also helps you see how to work with families, trying to understand how they got in their situation, and that's one of the things I always would say to some of the moms I work with. Like, we all make mistakes, but your mistakes might have a different earthly consequence than some of the mistakes I've made. So let's just work together, get through this, and then you can get your children back. So that's kind of a quick information about how to become a foster parent. Reach out to your local either Department of Human Resources, what it's called here. Some places I know it's called Child Protective Services. But if you did a quick Google search, how to become a foster parent in my county, it would give you all the information you needed and who to contact directly close to you. Secondly, I wanted to talk about why you should become a foster parent. Through the classes with the foster care system, our number one goal is reunification with that parent. And so they teach you how you can support that parent in the unification process. Many of the people we worked with were single moms who didn't have a good support system. So that's what I really encourage those moms was find your support system, reconnect with your family, get involved with a community or a church center or something like that that would help support you. So many of those ladies did that. And then we also became a support for them as well. I would try to help them in any way I could to get them on their feet, get away from the situations they were in, and encourage them to finish their coursework they were given, to help give them resources on maybe a ride to the location that they needed to, anything to help them be better for their children. Well, sometimes that doesn't always work out, and in most cases they give the parents a year to get things worked out. And if they haven't made any progress and they're not going to the classes, they're not making efforts to get their children, they're not doing regular visits, then they'll work through and they will begin terminating the parental rights. And during this time, there's also a plan looking for a relative that may be interested in taking the children. And so that would be the next step, would be a close relative, because we would want family first. Well, then if that's not working out, there may be an adoptive family that's ready for adoption and interested in that. And that happened in one of our cases where we actually helped transition the children to that home for an adoptive placement. And so that would be the next step. Well, if that's not an option, then the foster parent does have first choice to be able to adopt that child or children. And so then you can go through the adoption process. Now in our state, if you adopt a sibling group, which is considered a special needs group, because it's hard to find a family that would be willing to adopt more than one child. And so they help provide services for that. So our adoption, the state paid for the attorney, so we didn't have to pay the attorney fees, and we only had to pay the court costs for the adoption. So that was a couple $100 per kid. So it wasn't very much when you think of adoption from foster care. And then they continue to get their medical services and a stipend monthly to help support them as we're raising them. So that's helped us a lot. So during our foster journey, our family's motto has always been, "It's not about me." And so that's helped us really try to focus on these families to try to encourage them to do the right thing, to get their children back. But we understand too that sometimes it just doesn't happen because, like I said, we've adopted from foster care. We've actually adopted 3 sets of children. So our first 2, there was 2 of them. Then our second set, there was 3 of them. And then our last one was just 1. But each of these groups of children all have other siblings that were not in our home or were not adopted by us. And sadly, that happens. We try to stay connected with family as best we can. Sometimes the situation's not good for them to be involved with their siblings at the moment. So you just have to take it case by case to see what's best for those children in your home. And I can get into a little bit more of that later in their situations. But one of the things that we get a lot of questions about, or are people that might be interested in fostering, and so I'll ask them, like, what's holding you back? What's, keeping you from it? And my number one thing is people say that they're afraid to get attached. Well, I will tell you, we are attached to every one of the kids that lived in our house, over 80 of them. I'm very much attached to a lot of the parents. So I feel more like we have weaved this web of untraditional family with these children and these parents. and how we continue to kind of minister to them and root them on and cheer them on even years after them being in our home. So it is hard sometimes when you're very attached to a child and you even think that that might become adoption for you, so you are putting a lot into this child, and then something happens to the court system and that child is removed. So it is hard when that attachment gets broken. But then I think about how that child learned appropriate attachment while they were with us, and that's why I said it's not about me. So if this child can learn and grow and understand stability in their life and how much people do love and care for them, what a great thing that they can then go out into the world and be like, I remember my time with the Elkins and how they showed love to me, and now I can show love to other people. So just kind of remember that you will get attached, it will become hard, but then it's not about us. It's about trying to help these kids, help these families, and really improve our world as best we can. Another thing I hear too is that how inconvenient it can probably be sometimes. And it is. It's hard work. You yourself need a good support system around you. Thankfully, we were blessed with parents that lived close that could help. Our DHR that's near us was really helpful. They have some great people there, social workers, interns, because there were times that I worked full time, and there were times where I couldn't take a day off work and this child needed to go get a checkup, or we had some kids one time that had multiple dentist appointments, about 12 dentist appointments in 3 months because their teeth were so bad. And there was no way I could take off that many days to take them for these procedures. And again, we had great people step in and were able to take those kids to those different appointments. So I will say that you need a good support system too, and people on board with you to help you through that journey. But we've managed to do so much. There was even a time I was in the hospital with a child for several days, and I had a good friend come up there and stay with that child so I could go home and get a good shower and some rest. So I'm thankful for our support system too, because if it wasn't for them, we couldn't have done fostering as long as we have done. So I hope that this has helped shed a little bit of light on foster system, the different ways that you can help in fostering, and maybe why you could get involved in it. So leave me a comment or a question and I'll get back to it and answer, maybe make another video about some of our experiences, because I'd really love to share how we got to be a family with 9 kids. Because if anyone had told me that when I first got married that we would have 9 kids, I wouldn't have believed it. But over time, slowly, here we are. So anyways, join us on all of our adventures. Please subscribe so we can continue to grow our channel and share some content. Thanks.